See, I'll do the best I can. I'm Dan, and I'm going to be talking today about an artist named Sebastien Duverge. He and I have been collaborating for about 7 years now. He hired me to help him get his art business off the ground. And so I have a slideshow I'll share, but I want to begin by showing a video. Sebastien is succeeding as a self-employed artist. The state of Kentucky has a series of videos they've done to promote Kentucky art and Kentucky artists. And they did one for Sebastien. Sebastien is a Louisville artist. I've known him for about 5 years now, and he's a great guy. He's easygoing. He likes getting out in the woods. My name is DanTrabue. I'm an employment specialist, and Sebastien and I have been collaborating together on art for over 5 years now. While Sebastien is bilingual, he doesn't tend to talk too much, but he does communicate an awful lot with his art. People can see or have a sense of what Sebastien is seeing and feeling in the world, and I think they get that perfectly fine. Where were you born?
I'm born in New York City. I lived in Kentucky for most of my life.
Sebastien's family is from the Dominican Republic, and when I began working with Sebastien, he told me about that, and we explored Dominican art and artists. We found Candido Bido, who has a similar style to Sebastien, and who in turn I think influenced Sebastien as we explored his art with just a lot of portraits with bright colors behind them and textured skies and backgrounds. He also told me about these trees that grew in the Dominican Republic that were these bright green trees with beautiful red flowers on them. And I think just seeing those colors in nature inspires and influences Sebastien. Sebastien is especially known for a couple of styles. They included him in Kentucky Crafted because of his watercolor tile mosaics, where he uses watercolor paper and marker colors to create little tiles, and then he uses those to make mosaics. Sebastien's art tends to be very bright and colorful, full of life, brings people joy looking at his pictures. In addition to the mosaics, Sebastien also does paper weavings, and in that he'll oftentimes start with drawing the same picture twice and cutting those pictures into strips and then weaving them together. Sebastien is all the time just watching and observing and listening to what's going on around him. He's a very tactile person too. If he's walking through a field, his hands drifting through the grass or rubbing the tree bark as he walks past it. And I think he's just making notes of nature and what's going on around him.
I draw trees and leaves and birds and things I see outside.
The time that I've known Sebastien, we've gone to like Cherokee Park a lot, or the other local parks. Louisville's got a wealth of green spaces, and we like to spend our time there. We'll take hikes. 2 years ago, he started working here at Art Sanctuary, and Art Sanctuary is a place where other artists also have studios, and it's just been a very creative and collaborative sort of space where people interact and support one another. So he receives a lot of support from people in Kentucky and in Louisville. Sebastien's first solo show that I know of was at Expressions Gallery here in Louisville, and was a very successful show. They told us that his art sold more than anybody else's in their studio history, and that more visitors came. I enjoy spending time with Sebastien. He's just a cool young man, and I think we motivate one another to do work, and that's pleasing. It's great to know that people of different ages and different backgrounds can get together and find some common ground and some commonalities. So I've met Sebastien. Sebastien is 30. I met him about 7 years ago, and Manning the Edge, our agency, started working with him a couple years before that. Sebastien is someone who had always done art in his life. He got a lot of support from his mother and his family to work on art, and so it's just been a heavy part of his life. The picture on the left in the middle, pencil drawing, that's Sebastien, self-portrait he drew of himself while in high school. Then the rest of these drawings are drawings that he made for me the first months that we started working together. And during that time, I was just getting to know Sebastien and his styles and his strengths. We made trips to art museums. We researched Dominican Republic artists and where his family was from. Eventually, when he had large enough stock of art, we had a show where we attended some festivals and also had a show where he sold his art as a chance to get some feedback. And those all went very well. As I mentioned, his family is from Dominican Republic, and Candido Bido is those top two drawings or paintings are his artwork. And it was similar in style to what Sebastien did. And so he sort of used that as a model to think about what he likes about Bido's art and what he doesn't like. For instance, he really did not like Bido's black eyes. So he never drew anything like that. But he went on and sort of tried to up his game a little bit with our support. He was thinking through, how can I make this even better? I think Beth Mount might have this lady with the green face and purple dress, Trixie. It's one of his drawings. In the bottom left there, that's his drawing of Kamala Harris. So as we started working with Sebastien, some of the obstacles we tried to overcome and some of the challenges we met were, first of all, devaluation. Sebastien does his art in a sort of a folk art style, sort of a unpolished, not professional, not high grade art, but just folk art style. But because he's on the autism spectrum, and for other reasons, he's at risk of being devalued and marginalized. And so these early drawings, the top two there, were some of his early paintings they did while we were working together. And we wanted him, and those are lovely art as far as they go themselves, and people like his art. But we're always battling of, we don't want people to say, oh, he's an artist with autism, he's an artist with disability, let's buy his art. He is an artist who's Latino and who's young and whose family's from Dominican Republic, and he's also on the autism spectrum. We're not hiding his disability, but it's not, we don't want people, don't want people to buy out of sympathy. Another obstacle is a lot of times, almost every time I would be talking about Sebastien, they would say, oh, he's got a disability. There's this group of disabled artists that I'll meet and they work together. You should take them there. And that's an example of congregation where we try to avoid that, because Sebastien is an individual. We're promoting Sebastien, the artist, not Sebastien, a group of one in a group of folks with disabilities. We helped Sebastien think about his competency and his consistency of his drawing. And of course, he's wanting to do art as his career. And art is just a hard career to do. It's they don't call them starving artists for nothing. We had vocational rehabilitation hoops to jump through. It took us 5 years to get through and get approved for this business plan for Sebastien to be a self-employed artist. And then Sebastien's team of supporters and friends included a lot of people with creativity and art backgrounds, but none of us had much in the way of business background. So his team's lack of business knowledge was an obstacle to overcome. And then just finding Sebastien's own set of styles and finding that area where people's genuine love of Sebastien's art meets with his joys and his strength. So we began working with Sebastien, thinking about what styles would work for Sebastien. And when we looked at what works, we're looking at what comes naturally or easily-ish for Sebastien. And with that, I'd like to read a quote from Norman MacLean, who wrote the book A River Runs Through It. And here he's speaking of his father, who was a preacher and a fly fisherman. To him, all good things, trout as well as eternal salvation, came by grace, and grace comes by art, and art does not come easy. And I've always really liked that quote. And so when in relation to Sebastien's art, of course, art is not easy. It's work and it's what he's doing. But what comes naturally and most easily for Sebastien that he also does well, and that he does consistently well, because any artist will do this painting, this drawing, and oh, this first one didn't come out. The second one is a little bit better, but still didn't come out. The third one, okay, that's pretty good. So he's doing a lot of art, and not all of it's going to be great. But the more he has art that turns out good, the better it is for him as a business person. And also, what does Sebastien like to do? When he was looking at Bidot's art, some of Bidot's art had a whole lot of dots in the background. And Sebastien could do that, and he did that in some of his drawings. But he eventually decided he really did not like doing those. And so we just faded that element out. That middle picture on the right, the teddy bear that's in a sort of a woven pattern, that's something he did in high school. And so looking at his old high school art, we saw that. We thought, let's revisit that. And so we started doing these drawings where we would do the same drawing twice, cut them into slices, and then weave them together. And that got a lot of positive feedback from the art supporters who liked his art. And then from there, a lot of Sebastien's art, including the woven art, was sort of blocky or quilty looking. And that led us to thinking about doing these mosaic tiles. And so he's drawing or painting the paper and then cutting them in tiles and making his pictures, his mosaics. And that is really one thing that really kicked off his success to an even greater level. When he started doing those mosaics, Kentucky Crafted noticed those. Kentucky Crafted is a Kentucky Arts Center or Kentucky Arts Council organization that promotes Kentucky arts. They're the people who helped get that video made to promote Sebastien's art. And they have a juried process where some Kentucky artists can become a Kentucky Crafted artist. And Sebastien was selected for that. So that opened up Sebastien's art to all of the state of Kentucky and people who followed art in Kentucky. And so as we were thinking about this work, we always, in all our work, we think about if you're trying to fit in with this group, this book club, this gardening club, or this art world, what do we look at what other artists are doing? So other artists study other artists. They collaborate with artists, they associate with artists, they practice a lot, they work in a studio, they join art groups, they get their art out there, and they do social media. And so Sebastien did all of that. He joined the Louisville Visual Arts group here in Louisville, our city. He did eventually get accepted into Kentucky Crafted. He started renting out a studio and collaborating with other artists, and of course, doing his website and social media. The bottom left here is the photo. At the bottom left is Sebastien shaking hands with the governor of Kentucky, because Sebastien was commissioned to create art awards to give to every year. There's a Kentucky Governor's Award for Arts, and 10 promoters of art are given those awards. So Sebastien's was selected to make the awards to give to those artists. So he's been making lots of connections. And then just real quickly, I think I'm probably about out of time, but what things that Madeline has done to help Sebastien reach this level of success, as we have social role valorization is one of our core things that we learn. No, not everybody in this group may not know what social role valorization is, or SRV, but look it up. It's a way of let me see, I've got a definition here. Valued social roles and the benefits associated with them are key to having the good life. And so folks who with disabilities and other marginalized groups are at risk of being devalued. So we need to find valued social roles for them. We also learn about systematic instruction, which is just a way of breaking down tasks into smaller steps that we can understand how to do. Mattingly does work at making good connections. Like when I was being considered to work with Sebastien, they knew that I liked art and I like hiking, and Sebastien likes art and hiking. So that was like sort of natural connection. And also it allowed me to uh, play to my strengths and help Sebastien play to his strengths. And one result of that is just going to work with Sebastien every day or every time I go to work with them it's a fun thing to do for me because we're doing art together. That's fun. And that's smart on Mattingly's part to play to those strengths and connections. Mattingly was able to allow the time for Sebastien to grow his business. It took us again 5 years and a lot of hours to get to the point where Sebastien's making money at his art, and so for most of that time we were not making money. Vocational rehab has an outcome payment basis in Kentucky, so we were paid $8,000 for that 5 years worth of work, which did not come out to a living wage for us, but we were able to have a good board support and funding to help cover that. And the successes, Sebastien's had some of the largest art shows in a couple galleries here in town. He got his business plan completed eventually and accepted by OVR. He became a Kentucky crafted artist. There's a group here in town called JFCS, which has this prestigious awards every year called the Mosaic Awards. And so they've eventually hired Sebastien, commissioned Sebastien to start creating those awards. And he's been doing those for 4 years now. It was a natural fit for them, and it's a real good fit for us. He had his art traveling the state with his connections with the Kentucky Arts Council. He's been on the radio and in news stories. And as someone who doesn't speak much, figuring out how to help Sebastien be on the radio was a trick. So, but he did it. And the tourism department, not only is there that video, but his art is featured in a magazine that's distributed across the state. And he's made connections with Presbyterian Church USA. He says in other words, he's getting more and more commissions and more connections. This commission leading to another. And so it's just been a great joy to be working with Sebastien. And I don't know, are there any questions, or am I done?
Oh, thank you, Dan. That was a remarkable story. And the lessons that are available to all of us about inclusion are deep and enduring. So thank you very much for that.